admitted through a curtain of bright mind that hangs between our thought and absolute sight. He found the awful cave, the mystic door near the well of vision in the soul, and entered where the wings of glory brood, in the sunlit space where all is forever known. Out of the depths the world's buried secret rose. He read the original ukase, kept back in the locked archive the spirit's script, and saw the signature and fiery seal of wisdom of the dim powers who did work, who builds in ignorance the steps of light. This is Ashwapati's exploration of the secret nature. He sees the hidden scripture. He opens the documents which are kept in the archives. He reads the verdict, the edict that had been passed long ago. He sees the seal of the Absolute on the scripture. He sees the seal of wisdom on the working of the dim power, which is building things here in ignorance, taking things here from ignorance to light. This is not a world which is just kept hanging in space. This world is not hanging in the air. There has to be something behind this world, some substance, some content, some meaning. There has to be the truth. That truth must be known. By that truth, things must be done. One must know the truth which opposes this world. And by knowing the truth, one should carry things forward, that things must be done in the greatness of the truth. If there is a power operating here, if there is a truth working here since the dawn of life, if there is a constant will to bring out the secrets awaiting in their hour, if there is a constant will to bring out the secret awaiting their hour, if there are genuine men walking in this world, men of God who breathe and live in God, then a shinier progress is possible, a shinier progress is conceivable, a brighter future can approach us. That should be the reason for our effort, that shinier progress approaching us. That should be the reason for all our effort and all our endeavor. Our entire endeavor is to be directed in bringing that shiny future closer to us. The seeker must have this knowledge first of that truth which governs this creation, knowledge about the power working here, knowledge about the power working here in life. The seeker must have this knowledge. Ashwapati has it. He has acquired that knowledge, and therefore he can see how that truth can be put into operation here. Ashwapati sees the essence. He sees the mystic content of reality. He sees the reality that subsists in this creation. He feels it breathing. He feels it breathing in this world, in this creation. This knowledge he already has. He sees it. He is a seer. The curtain of mind is lifted. It does not block that knowledge, and therefore he gets the truth perspective of things. There is an occult cave close to the soul's dwelling, and it opens out. That cave opens out as if the secret world is discovered, is found, as if the password to enter into that cave got in its possession. Ashwapati enters into sunless spaces where all could be known. Even if there should arise a doubt, even if there should be disbelief, even if there should be distrust, Ashwapati would not be touched by it. That doubt, that disbelief, that distrust cannot sway him away from his pursuit. He would not be touched by them. They cannot sway him away from his defined objective to discover the truth of this world. They cannot sway him away from his goal. The body's rules and habits, yes, they are there, but these would not bind him anymore. He moves with powers of the Spirit. He has already that realization, and he has that capacity to get moved by the powers of the Spirit. If something is needed, if something is needed to be done, needed to be known, that he shall do, that he will come to know by that power. All that the gods have learned through the ages of progress, all that the gods have learned is self-known there, known there in that world of sunlit certitude. The secrets are disclosed. The book of being is open in front of Ashwapati. The story is well defined, is very clear. He understands its contents, its significance, its implications in every respect. The text, the glossary, the charts, the designs, the drawings, the rhythms and movements of the stars, they are all studied and marked out, and Ashwapati understands them well. The sacred laws, the correspondence between soul and nature, the history of the world, everything is present in the book of being. Ashwapati reads that book of being. Ashwapati understands every detail of it. Ashwapati sees the wisdom which is there, noted down in the book of being, described, revealed in the book of being. Ashwapati could read and interpret the recondite clauses of that book. What is secret, what is mysterious, what is puzzling, all those he could understand. He could decipher the esoteric signs and symbols. He could understand the icons. He could recognize the necessity, the imperative of the heart conditions for the mighty work. He could understand the raison d'etre all these actions and movements and these designs and these plans. There is in Ashwapati the will to know the inconscient world. Yes, this world of suffering, this world of ignorance, this world governed by death. And Ashwapati would certainly like to know how it works. What is it that governs it? The will to know, it is there in him. There is the will to live under the shadow of death. There is the mystery of God's agreement with the divine night. God has entered into agreement with the divine night. There is a mystery behind that agreement. Ashwapati would like to have an access about the agreement which is there between God and night. He would like to see in what way that agreement can be used to bring to the night God's light. That mystery has to be unraveled to the soul. In it, the purpose of the incredible birth becomes telling, becomes significant, becomes at once meaningful. The Eternal has made a promise to the laboring cosmic force. It is through her work that the sleeping deity, the inconscient being, the sleeping deity must open its deathless eyes. Matter must know its central spiritual sense. Mind must study the unknowable. Life must bring out the golden child. That is what Ashwapati would like to know. That is the promise Eternal has made to the laboring cosmic force. It is that which has got to be implemented and established here. The secrets concealed in the depths of the world had to be opened out. They had to come out and find their expression in the world. There is a pragmatic seal on them. There is a signature of wisdom on them, on this concealed depths. Therefore, wisdom in labor lies in covering them, these depths, these expressions. When this is done, then the riddle would remain no more a riddle. It cannot remain a riddle. The obscure catch is gone. Ashwapati finds that even the dreadful, appalling void, that even in the dreadful, abhorring void, there dwells the Supreme Omniscient Himself. He has taken a station there. He has taken his position there in the appalling void. He is seated within it, within that void. This cannot be. He is taking the station there in the void. This cannot be without a purpose. The Supreme Omniscient is there in the void, not for nothing. There is a purpose behind that. Indeed, the void is a sensible, well-designed void. It is a functional void. It is an envisioned void. Out of it, rather because of it, a creation with the divine attributes and possibilities can arise. That is the purpose of the void. That is another way of expressing the divine can express itself. The attributeless can express itself in attributes. by passing through the void, and it is that function which the void is serving.